K12 STEM Outreach COI monthly call for April. My name is Liza Gruden and I'm your chair. Jeff Leonard is our vice chair for strategic alliances, and he has lined up a great guest speaker for us. Next slide, Janine.
Hang on while I figure out which. There we go.
Screen, Marlon. So thank you. Opening welcome. I did that. I found a really cool Smithsonian exhibit I was going to talk about. The Dayton Challenger Learning Center is our guest speaker. And then we have some COI updates. And if our guest speaker still isn't here, then we will probably jump ahead to the updates and then give her a little bit of time to jump on. Next slide. Well, I would say thank you to Starshine, but we will say thank you again. We're always looking for leadership members for our leadership team. If you are interested, please reach out to me, Jeff Leonard, Josh Graham, or Janine. We have our XC calls every second Wednesday, and then our COI-wide calls every third Wednesday. So it sounds like we might be mixing that up. So we will certainly be in touch and let everyone know. Next slide. So the Smithsonian has a really cool exhibit right now. They have 120 life-size statues of leading women in STEM in the National Mall. It's part of the centerpiece for Women's Futures Month. And the Smithsonian said that it's actually the largest collection of statues of women ever assembled together. So if you're in the DC area or want to visit DC, I did not get the timing for how long it was going to be there. But normally they are, a couple of months. So if you can, go see the exhibit. Did you know about that, Janine?
No, I'm making note of it, trying to figure out which museum exactly it's in.
I think it's in the, that looks to me like the admin center. The main one.
The one that we call the castle.
Ah, that would be it.
All right.
I'm just going to look it up. Let's see. Yeah, I picked it up in the Washington Post. Here's today. Yeah, it still doesn't say the timing and everything that I can find. It looks like some of it is actually in the garden. Each one has a QR code that will tell you about the statue and their contributions to STEM. So it would be something great to bring, kids to middle school, high school, to inspire them.
Is this at the Smithsonian in Washington, right? I'm sorry, I just got back on.
Yep.
Oh, excellent. Is it a permanent exhibit?
I don't think it's going to be permanent. I can't find dates, but I know it's there right now.
Starshine will be on the call momentarily. I had inadvertently sent her an old link, and when I sent her the updated link, she didn't get that one, but she should be on any minute.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, and Janine, it looks like it's in front of the castle and then all around that square in front of the castle.
Okay.
So actually, I will put this link, what I'm looking at, in the chat box. If anybody's interested in going. And if it's for Women's History Month, then it should be the whole month of March. Oh, no. Well, I hope it's not gone already. Seems like a lot of work to put it up just for 1 month. So I think the next slide is the introduction for the Challenger Learning Center. Do you want to do the introduction, Jeff, or do you want me to skip ahead to some other stuff?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. She was actually sitting in the other link, waiting to be let in. It said she needed to be let in, and I'm like, "You're in the wrong one, then." And then I sent it to her. I called her and I sent it to her. I'm surprised she's not on yet, but we can.
We can go.
Why don't we go on and come back to it if you guys don't mind?
Okay, yeah, no problem. We have an ongoing effort where we are trying to get information about post activities and what they are doing with STEM, and create that network of information, and let posts know that they can approach us for opportunities, or we can volunteer, and how can we help as a COI. Next slide. And this is one example. This is actually my post, the Tampa Post. So we have a STEM camp coming up second week of June, and we are looking for volunteers. You have to come in person. I'm sorry, but you have to come to Tampa. I know it's a horrible thing. And there's actually an information session next week on April 26th.
I see somebody who looks like they might possibly be from the Challenger Center.
Yes, I'm here.
Great. We jumped ahead a little bit, so we're going to back up so that you can give your presentation. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to let Jeff do a little introduction, and then we'll let you guys take it from there.
And I have
That's awesome.
I have your slides queued up, so I can show them from here, and you just tell me when to advance. Okay?
Sounds good.
That's great. So, guys, I take great pleasure in introducing a friend of mine, Avril Starshine Gedman. I didn't even know her first name. We just always call her Captain Starshine. And she's been a senior flight specialist at the Dayton Challenger Learning Center for 5 years. I've worked with her out at our Boy Scout camp. They do a weekend NOVA STEM camp out at our Boy Scout camp every summer. Hugely successful event. She's been in education for 15 years. And working with camping administration leadership, and as part of the Dayton Challenger Center, she's going to tell us all about the Challenger Learning Center, and they're all over the country. I had no idea they were so big. I was so excited to hear about this. And Challenger is an informal learning STEM education center. They have some really great programs, and so I'm so excited to introduce Starshine.
All right. Yes. Thank you, Jeff. So I'll let my slides get up and we'll get into it. Awesome. So yes, my name is Commander Starshine. I am in my 5th year here at the Dayton Challenger Learning Center. And I'm very excited to share with all of you here today a little bit about our organization. We are an international organization, and hopefully not only here in Dayton, but across the country, we can make some partnerships with multiple people. Go ahead, you can go to the next slide. All right, so as a Challenger Learning Center, we recognize there is a huge need for STEM in the workforce. And we also realize that the students that are in our elementary and middle schools right now, by the time they enter high school and enter the workforce, 65% of their jobs aren't even a reality yet. We don't know what these students are going to be working towards or in regards to STEM, but we know that there are new jobs being developed every day. So our big question that we try to answer and work towards is, how do we get these students ready for a workforce that does exist but doesn't exist yet? Go ahead to the next slide. So one way that we do this is we target upper elementary and middle school students. And by focusing on these ages, we not only expose these students to careers in space science and STEM, but we also allow them to explore concepts that they're working on them in the classroom, but it's a little bit different than how their teacher can present it to them. So by the time a student's in 4th grade, they've started to try to discover and figure out what they want to do when they grow up. So by targeting this group, we give them the opportunity to start really hands-on exploring those career paths. Go ahead to the next slide. As a Challenger Center, we realized there are 3 areas that we need to really target to get those students involved. So inspiring them. We want it to have the cool factor. We want them to do something in one of our programs and realize, this is awesome, I want more of this. We also tie in the, well, how does this matter to me, or when am I ever going to use this? I think we've all had that moment with either younger individuals in our lives or us ourselves of, when am I going to use this in life? So we take those moments and we show the students like, oh, this is why averaging in math is important. Like, you need to know the average temperature a spacecraft should be, or you need to know why we do the volume of rocks in water, and just different things they're learning in the classroom, but adding that application to real life. And then by the end of it, we hope to pull in the vision part of, well, how do I do this for the rest of my life? I really enjoyed this. How do I keep getting more of this? Go ahead to the next slide. So the Challenger Learning Center Network is an international network. We have over 46 international centers, most of them being housed here in the United States. We have a center in Alaska and Hawaii. Most of them kind of focused towards the East Coast, but as you can see on the map, we're constantly adding and emerging different centers. Go ahead to the next slide. One really awesome thing about Challenger Centers and our program in general is in 2017, we were awarded the National Science Board Public Service Award. And this was a huge deal to us because it wasn't given to the board or our CEO headquarter organization. This award was given to every center in the organization. So it wasn't just, you know, because our board was doing a great job, we got it. It was because all of our collective centers, the programs we run and the service that we do, that was what was recognized. So I've been talking about all this great stuff that we do, but like, who are we? So Challenger Center, most of you are probably familiar with the Challenger accident of '86. We were developed after that accident by the families of the Challenger crew members. So after the accident, Dick Scobie, the commander, his wife was very passionate and started a movement to create these centers throughout the United States. Annually, we serve over 250,000 students. We develop and deliver all kinds of STEM education. And the great thing about our organization is, even though there are many of us, we are all very different. We hone into the needs of our local communities, and we develop and deliver program based on what is around us and what is needed. In the 35 years that we have been an organization, we've served over 5.5 million students. The next slide is going to be a video. It's very, very hard to tell people about what we do because we have a mock-up of a spacecraft and a mission control, and we take kids to space. And that's what I always tell people, and they're like, oh, okay. So I think this video gives you a great idea of what we do here and what I talk about, what I mean when I talk about how we're giving them that real world career exploration. So let's go ahead and watch that video.
I'm going to see if this works.
Okay.
We did not test. This is what we get for not testing. 'Cause I'm not sure this is going to go.
Videos are always the most challenging.
I'm getting odd messages on my end about whether or not my browser, and it,
Do you want to try it from a link?
I'm going to try to see what's going on. I'm going to see what happens if we don't have. Okay, so Jeff, did you do it from the link?
He sent a link to the slides. Thank you,
Then
Jeff.
I posted the link that if worst case scenario, people can go watch the video, but I'd really like to watch it now.
I think this is something that what you usually have to do is send me the video or do something a little separate. How about if we?
It's just
I know it's great.
It's a YouTube video.
I was trying to think when I've got the link up, it's view only. Let's see here. We don't know how. Oh, slideshow. Here we go, slideshow. Could not load the YouTube player. That's the problem.
I'm going to have to say, let's move on, just because, and let's look at that, because honestly, trying to play videos through some of the interfaces, like GoToMeeting, you get something that's really glitchy and not good anyway. So,
Did you try the
That's
link
fine.
to the YouTube video in chat? Because I got that to start.
yeah, but to show it through GoToMeeting is the issue. To show all of us, I think that
if you got the video to run, I'm having problems with YouTube player because of my firewall. But if you can get the video to run, you can share your screen.
Jeff,
Yeah, I have it.
Jeff, it doesn't work that easily through GoToMeeting. So I suggest we move on instead of doing a technical check in the middle of the meeting.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. The link that was sent in the chat is the link to the video, so hopefully you all get a chance to take a look at that. It shows the students in the simulator, and it does some interviews with some of the teachers and students on their time at Challenger Centers. So you can see how they're taking on the roles of like our mission controllers and our astronauts. So, we are part of an international organization. We were opened in September of 1990 here in Dayton. We were the 4th center opened after the accident, and today we are the 2nd oldest running center in the CLC network, behind Maryland. Maryland is the longest running. Annually, our center here in Dayton sees between 2,500 to 3,500 students, and we run about 150 programs per year. We are finally back up to our full capacity after our little shutdown that we've had over the past couple years. So it's been a pretty busy year, a pretty exciting year. So in addition to the field trips that is what is showcased on the video, we also run homeschool labs, we have scout partnerships, and we run community engagement activities. So not only do we do things here at our physical location, but we also go out and travel to schools and churches and camps, and pretty much anywhere where there is a need or a space for us to do programming, we show up and we run it. We can go to the next slide.
How many people do you have in Dayton?
Employed at our center, there are 3 of us.
Okay, and then across the U.S.?
It all depends on the center. So our headquarters employs about 20 to 30 individuals, and then there are some centers that have 2 staff members. There are other centers that have up to 12. So it just all depends on the community Each center is, like I said, we're all the same, but we're very different. Some of us are owned by school districts, others by colleges. We have a center in Florida that's funded through Coca-Cola. So it all depends on where that initial startup funding comes from.
Pretty interesting. That's cool. You guys do a lot of work with a small number of people.
Yes, it is never a dull day here. That I can promise. All right, we can go to the next slide, or back into the slideshow.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back to full screen. There we go. It kicked me off. There.
All right, so with all of those programs and all the things that we do guarantee 4 things out of any interaction with the center. The first is the career awareness. Every program we run has a tie back into a career. For the simulated missions, it's obviously the space exploration and the engineering, and there's like a medical team and a navigation team. So there's many different career paths in that. Our other programs, for example, we ran it was like a paleontology program. So the students kind of got to learn more about what it's like to be an archaeologist. So any program we run, we make sure that our students are also understanding, like, oh, if I really enjoy this, this is the career path I need to take to get to do this every day. The engagement part and the self-efficiency part and the I can do STEM part kind of go hand in hand. So a lot of our programs, well, all of our programs, there might be a little lecture to it, but we make sure whatever we're running, the students have a hand-on interaction to it. So if we're, doing flame tests, every student's going to get to do a flame test. It's not going to be watching the instructor do it. So we give the students an opportunity to really do the hands-on part of it, get into whatever we're working on, and be able to take something away and say, you know what, I did that and it was really cool, and I want to be able to do that more. And then yes, we do have lots of different technological tools and toys that the kids get to play with. And then one of the most important things, I think, is the fact that we also develop those 21st century skills for students. So being able to increase communication and collaboration and problem solving. This is something we're seeing a lot, especially this year. Our students haven't had those skills or been able to practice them or have them instilled over the past couple years. So we're taking more time to really be like, okay, there's an emergency in one of our missions. How do we go about working on this? Who do we need to talk to about this? Instead of just, the students kind of freaking out or shutting down. It's more of a step-by-step. All right, well, if this was real life, how would we handle it? Is it going to help anyone to freak out, or should we go to our mission commander and let them know what's going on? So being able to work with the students in a short period of time and help them start to realize that they have a voice and they need to talk to other people, and those types of skills and development. Go ahead to the next slide. So one thing I get asked a lot, especially in meetings or meeting new people, is how do we do what we do? Like I mentioned earlier, some of us are funded under school districts, some of us are funded under colleges, but a lot of what we do is partnerships with our community and different individuals that we cross paths with. Each center is different. Each center has different needs. For example, one of our centers in Indiana partnered with Caterpillar. They had a need for people to run the machinery, and they developed a program with funding from Caterpillar to essentially deliver this to middle school students in order to help them kind of push the students in that area into that section of their workforce. So if you want to go ahead to the next slide. So these are kind of the 4 areas that we always tell people we could always have help in. As far as program development and funding, we got a grant through the Ohio Energy Project last year. They allowed us to purchase 3D printers and circuitry kits. So students now have we now have developed a program where students are using CAD to print things out on the 3D printers and learning the basics of those applications. And then in addition to that, we do C++ coding labs so students can start to get an introduction into the coding, Python, that realm of the world that they all want to be in and do to develop their games and whatever they're working on in school and with their friends and on the computer. And then as far as partnerships, we are always looking for partnerships. We, like Jeff had mentioned, we partnered with the local Boy Scouts in the area and developed a weekend STEM camp. So those scouts come in, they spend a whole weekend with us, and by the end of it, we have done STEM all weekend, and they earn some of their awards throughout that time. This summer, we are also partnering with Cyber Patriot to run a cybersecurity camp. So that's something brand new we're developing in an effort to get local students kind of excited and engaged about cybersecurity. So those are all different things that we are open to, and we love working with people in the area and figuring out what new things we can develop. We can go on to the next slide. So in a nutshell, I know it was really quick, but that's pretty much what Challenger Centers are. Like I said, it's not just here in Dayton. We are an international organization. Without funding and partnership, obviously, you know, program development and delivery is harder. But if it's something that some of you are interested in and you're not here in Dayton, feel free to go to challenger.org. And you can reach out to the closest center to you. Is there any questions or anything I didn't explain very well?
Yeah, okay. Janine, can you go back to the map? One of her early slides. Okay, so I'm looking at the map and I'm thinking that there's a post near most every place you've got a Challenger Center. I could be wrong, but I see a lot of overlap with our posts. I just wanted everyone to kind of take a look at the map and see if there's a center near them if you're on the call. And
like our closest would be Jacksonville. Is that Tallahassee? That's the other Florida one?
Yes.
I'm in Tampa.
Tallahassee has a center.
Okay.
So, of course, funding is an issue for all nonprofit organizations, whether you can get grants or whatnot. Your slide also mentioned in-kind donations, participation. When you say that, are you looking for like guest speakers to come in? Are you looking for someone to help develop a new program or a new demonstration or STEM activity? I guess is the word I'm looking for. What kind of in-kind help are you looking for typically?
Yeah, so those are definitely all things that different centers look for. We like to partner with the experts in the field and figure out what the expert knows about and how we can develop a program. Absolutely. I know some centers run different like summer camps, and they're looking for people to come out and kind of help with the summer camp. Science fairs. I think one of our centers in Texas does like like the students do movies and then they present it out to the community, so like judges for those kinds of things. Mexico does Space Day, so they're always looking for people to come out and help facilitate that. So yeah, absolutely. It's hard to answer because every center looks for something a little different, but we're all always looking for people to come out and speak to our students and or help develop different programs.
How much of what percentage of your programs do you do in-house with like school field trips coming to you versus you going out like you do to the Boy Scout camp or something?
For our specific center here in Dayton, we probably do, I would say, close to 80% on site and then 20% off of site. Our center is a pretty flexible center, so we like to talk with whoever we're working with and see what works best for them. Because we're such a small, flexible staff, we travel pretty easily.
Great.
I stopped sharing the screen just because I thought that we might want to be a little, like, come off camera and ask the questions and have a chat instead of just looking at the slides. So
Appreciate that.
I don't know what you know about the Society of American Military Engineers. About a third of our members are, in fact, engineers associated with military or government work. We also have a lot of members who work for firms that are, who also support government work. And so, like Jeff said, that's why we have a lot of overlap in some of these locations where there might be military bases or other government installations. And so a lot of our focus is on the architecture, engineering, and construction industry, but we do have members who are part of Space Force. The military academies are starting to graduate people who are not going in just to the Navy or the Army, but into the Space Force. So that's one of the things that we have about our membership. It includes that. So if you think of needs, you can tap Jeff's shoulder, for your area and say, "Hey, Jeff, would you like to help us out with this?" But definitely we'll recommend to the people who are on this call. I can see there's a center in San Antonio, and I know we have people from San Antonio on the call, and it's definitely a place for people to look.
Thanks, Jenny. And Starshine, I like what you were saying about, every Challenger Center is different with all the same mission, trying to cater to your local community. I'm no longer in the construction industry anymore. I worked for architects and engineers, and when I first came out to the base, worked for the civil engineering division, hiring those old architects and engineers that I used to work for. But now I'm in the Air Force Research Lab, and I'm just so lucky that AFRL is all about STEM outreach as well. So, when you're talking about buying 3D printers and stuff, we're building a giant new 3D printing lab at our complex now and stuff. So we'll have to talk. Maybe there's a field trip in there for your guys down the road. So
that sounds interesting. If I was a middle school student, I'd want to see that.
The lab's under construction now. I think it's due to open this fall. Right now is I think the schedule, and 3D printing with lasers and metal. We're 3D printing metal. So
yeah, and that's something really cool that and you were saying about the Space Force, because it is so new, I think it's not in the forefront of our students' minds, but by the time they do get to that level, it'll totally be an option for them to take. And being able to talk to somebody who's in that field right now and give them some ideas of what they do and how they got there. And that's something we're always looking for with our students, being able to have that open conversation with somebody who is in the now.
I hadn't thought about that, especially with Challenger being kind of a space oriented in your video with your space mission. We have a number of Guardians Air Force members who have transitioned from Air Force to Space Force. We have a number of Guardians on the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base now, so maybe I'll have to see if I can figure out how to contact some of them. That'd be really cool. Does anybody else have any questions? I want to thank Starshine for being here and for a great presentation, and for all the great work you do with our K12 kids, because as we all know, if you don't get them interested in science, then it's too late later on. So does anyone else have any questions while we've got her?
This is Arpin. I just have
chat too. I'm sorry, go ahead.
All right, Liza. I was just curious, is Starshine or Jeff, are you going to be at JETC and be able to talk about some of this stuff more, or is there anybody from the Discovery Center is going to be attending JETC?
I'm going to be there. I can bring some information if you want me to. I'll hook up with Starshine and get some literature or handouts or whatever, and bring that. That's a good idea.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, because I think in part of just some of the efforts I'm working to, that there is overlap. I just went to the Air Force Academy yesterday and talked to some of the civil engineers and Space Force, future officers. So there's a lot of potentials of overlapping and getting integrations between the, what they're looking for at the STEM camps, as well as exposure to some of those career fields that I think Starshine's looking for. So I think SAME might be able to help out, but we just need to align it appropriately of what our current capabilities are.
Yeah, I think one of the great things that this call does and that we can do is kind of cross-pollinate and advertise for folks, although a lot of those Space Force, cybersecurity, technical career fields may not be in the construction industry where we're kind of focused, trying to teach contractors and architects how to do work with the DoD and how to teach the DoD to do work with the folks in the private sector. Let's face it, they need to know how it works too. Just to advertise what other folks do and get the word out there, because I'm sure there's folks out there that would be excited to be part of it.
Thank you to Starshine and you, and I look forward to continuing this discussion at JETC. So over to you, Liza.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments?
All right. Well, thank you for having me. I always enjoy talking about Challenger and getting the name out there. So feel free to get a hold of Jeff or get to our national website and send an email out and find out your local area and what they're looking for, and hooking up with Challenger.
Thank you for everything you do. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being
here. Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome to stay for the rest of the call. We got another 15 minutes, but it's up to you. I think we can go back to the slides, Janine, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
Thanks again, Jeff. So if you're interested in an excuse to come to Tampa in June, or if you are already in the area, we are looking for volunteers. And basically you would set up, you can do a presentation or hands-on demonstration event to make it up, whatever you want to do. And then we give you a bunch of kids and it's really fun. And you get to hang out at MacDill Air Force Base. So if you want more information, then you can contact me, or there's a couple email addresses there. Jose is taking the lead on that, or you can just contact the board for the Tampa Post. But we would love to publish information and call for volunteers for your post. Just happened to see this one come through, so thought I would bring it up for the Tampa Post. So next slide.
Can I mention, since camps are on the mind, on the whole, the SAME camps, the engineering and construction camps, for the most part, they do have their mentors in place, but there are still some openings. I think that the Air Force Academy might still have some space. They thought that they were going to have a really restricted number of campers this year, and the Air Force Academy has allowed them to increase their numbers, so they were still looking for some mentors. And I think one or two of the other camps were still looking, especially for female mentors. So
nice. Okay.
You know,
That's good to know.
let people
And
know.
they would contact you, Janine, to, you know.
Yeah, they can contact me. There is something on the SAME camp website, you know, for people to put in an application form, and the SAME camp website, and I'll put that into the chat, is a good place to find out information like, you know, when are the camps, where are the camps, and then there is the online application form. But I'm looking at this and I've got so many things full. I'm not sure I can drop it into chat right now.
No worries. Do you know offhand when the Air Force camp is that they're looking for volunteers on?
June, but I can't remember if it's the second or the third week of June. And then there is an Air Force camp in Illinois that takes place later in July, but the one at the Air Force Academy is the largest of the SAME camps. And so they usually have the largest requirement for mentors and such. And I think that Arpon is, didn't you get your arm twisted, Arpon?
I find that hard to believe.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely trying, but I don't think I'm going to be able to make it this year. But I'm definitely looking to help Scott Procius and Monica get mentors. So I support everything that Janine said.
It looks like the one at the Air Force Academy is June 23rd through June 29th.
That's correct.
Next slide. I had this in for last month. And I know Brad's on the call, so maybe Brad wants to talk a little bit about this. We didn't make it to this part of the slide presentation the last couple months, but
well, sure.
It's definitely worthy of some recognition.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Yeah, the Orange County Post has been sponsoring the rocketry club at the Starbase at the Los Alamitos Joint Training Facility. We've been supporting them for a few years now, and so they're part of an organization. It's the American Rocketry Challenge, and so that's TARC. They've been doing competitions with in that organization for a couple of years now, and so for this year and last year they competed well enough in the local competition here in California to qualify for the finals that are in Virginia this year. And so, they're very excited. And I went to go visit them a couple times in the last few months. And that's a photo on a Saturday morning when they were launching some of their rockets. But on another visit, I went into their classroom where they were constructing their rockets, and it was very impressive. They've got the 3D printer, fabricating custom parts for these rockets, and so I would imagine that they're going to do even better this year. And that competition is in May. Saturday the 14th, and that's only a couple days after the end of JETSI. But I think our post in Orange County, we may continue to sponsor them on part of this trip to Virginia.
Nice, thank you. Those are great efforts and make a great difference for the kids. Maybe they can go and train Jeff on his new 3D printer.
I think they're experts.
Thanks, Brad. Next slide. I thought we could do an update on the We Must Go to Them grant. I know we talked a little bit about it in our XC meeting, but Janine, if you wanted to say a few words to the COI about that.
Sure. On March 31st, we held a cultural awareness panel, and it was great. It was we had representatives from several different tribal communities. We had people on all the way from Alaska to Florida, Iowa, the Navajo Nation. And, you know, it was a great opportunity where those of us like me, who I don't have a lot of experience with the tribal communities. And, you know, we had a lot of very frank questions about what do we call the groups? What do we need to do? What do we need to be aware of? And so we sent in a lot of questions in advance. The group had met the day before and went through the questions, divided them up amongst the group, and we covered a lot of ground in a very short period of time. We're going to be posting the recording of that. It's under review right now. The group wanted to take a look at things and make sure that things were adequately represented, properly represented, and then we'll be posting that. Some of my takeaways were, and I had read about this for the Navajo Nation, but people, when you're talking to people in many tribal communities, like they don't look you in the eye, and that is a sign of respect. And so being aware of that kind of body posture is something for people to be aware of. Also be aware that there may be a lot of back and forth about things may take some time for people to think about. And, you know, I think that especially as engineers, we're very used to, let's schedule a meeting at 2:00. It's going to start at 2 because we respect everybody's time, and it's going to finish at 2:58 because, again, we respect everybody's time, and we're very efficiency minded. And that is not necessarily how things work within some of the tribal communities. So you can't go in thinking, oh, I'm scheduled to be on and talk to people at 2:15 and it's 2:20 and they haven't gotten to me. It's 2:30, they haven't gotten to me. So we need to be a little bit more careful, a little, you know, relax a little bit about the timing, because people, if something earlier in the meeting is taking longer, that is okay. And that they will get to you. You may make your presentation and it may take some time for people to get back to you with the answer. And that is okay. It is also okay for us to go in and say, please forgive me. I might make a mistake. You know, have kind of a humble attitude. And be frank about the notion that, you know, you up front say, I'm sorry if I by chance make a mistake here, you know, please forgive me. I laughed a little bit because one of the discussion leaders, I did not realize that communities, and I'm talking like tribal communities in general, but reservation is not the only term. There is actually one, in California, they're called something else. And in Iowa, there is one that is actually called the settlement. And one of our leaders was talking about this, and she knew she was using the wrong term. She had actually done work for them. And so she was laughing, and they were laughing with her because they had built a really good relationship and were not taking offense at that. We have a marvelous cadre of advisors for this project, and it's really going to be something that for people who are interested in doing STEM outreach to American Indian, Alaska Native youth, this will be very valuable. But it also has value in terms of anybody who needs to work with these kinds of communities, whether or not you're doing STEM outreach. This is going to be a great tool for everyone to have available to them.
Has there been any traction on having any events or anything for JETC?
Not for this year. We're too early in this process for us to come in and say, this is what we are doing. But for next year, when we can say we've done this for a year and these are the things that came out of it and all of that, we are definitely under, we've got things under discussion there.
Well, that would be good. It would be nice to bring this to a broader audience. I still think there's a lot of people that don't know about the grant.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I don't want to, is that everything? I'll move on to the next. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody has any questions, go ahead. Please, bring those up. So we're going to meet you can go to the next slide if you want. We're going to meet in May in person on May 10th at 9 a.m. That's Mountain Time. We're all used to that adjustment. It's room Summit 6-7. So if you're coming to JETC, and we encourage you to do so, it's a great event. Please, come and meet in person. We're always looking for topics for future COI calls. We want to do some, we would get continuing education credits. So if you have ideas about those would be of particular interest. And in June, Jeff has Starbase lined up to come and speak to us. So thank you again, everyone, for all of your time. If anyone has any final comments, please feel free. All right. Well, that's it. Everyone have a great day. Be safe, and I'll see you next